go ahead, take a deep breath, pull it in, hold, and let it out. You're here today to develop and strengthen your mindset because you know that weekly training sessions in mindfulness is the missing link the world is searching for when it comes to business success. So set aside the external logistical side of business growth and come with me now to a world of focus, purpose, calm, confidence, and personal power using NLP and CBT tools and techniques. I am your host, Leah Marie, and you're listening to Flip the Switch. Hey there. I am hoping that this podcast is coming to you and finding you very safe and healthy at this time. I know for our family, we have really upped our intake of fruits and veggies to really immune boost ourselves, and being aware of self-care has really come into play in our lives at this time. But through all of this, my thoughts keep returning to you. Have you ever noticed that what you focus on seems to expand or grow? Whether that be positive or negative, just stop for a second and think about that. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying before, where your focus goes, your energy flows. This is so true. And it kind of helps me to remember the importance of this truth and where I can bring awareness into my life as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, and as a friend and as a sister, and just all of the roles that I have, that where my focus goes, my energy flows, which then also has me questioning, am I leaking any energy? Or am I really having a nice strong current of energy flowing? If you were to picture a river flowing full of energy and having a strong purpose and a strong course, it can cut through and it can move the land. It can reshape the formation of land. It is so powerful. But what happens when pieces of that river start to jet off in little streams in all these different directions? The power goes down, right? It gets depleted because it is running in so many different places and so many different courses of its own travel. And not only that, but each of those little streams, the smaller the stream, the more that water actually has to follow and get moved around and pushed around depending on what the flow of the land is. So we have a few options in our life as well. We can focus all of our energy and put it into one thing and then into another versus trying to do all of the multitasking, depleting ourselves of energy in a million different places. So today I want to talk about energy and how that plays a role with our health and how that affects our entrepreneur and business life. Really just get some crystal clear thoughts and ideas around where we're using our energy or whether we are investing our energy in the right places. So let's get started. What do you say? Well, if you're still listening, I'm going to take that as yes. So let's look at what you're going to understand and have by the end of this session. By the end of this session, you will be able to have insights into a few different ways that we can look at our health and how it impacts and affects us as business owners and entrepreneurs. Also, we will look at 6 questions that you can ask yourself today to jumpstart your desire for creating a culture of self-care in your life. Now, as always, you'll want to stay with me right to the end, because in that space, we are going to take a look at the actionable steps that you can take today to start you off on the right foot. Let's get started. At the time of this recording, we are in a worldwide crisis. We are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, for those that listen to this episode long after the pandemic is over, consider this a gift to prepare you ahead in ways to proactively build a safety net of sorts should, heaven forbid, your health ever become at risk. For us now, in this reality, we feel the fear at home and worldwide, but we can also recognize and take steps so that fear is not the controlling emotion. This event has been eye-opening, and maybe for some, this is even the first time that reality has really hit them on how much they value their health. So often in business mindset or in the entrepreneur life, we get caught in creating the dream, so much so that we are willing to sacrifice it all, even our health, to achieve. I call this living the nightmare to create the dream. Let's take a second to recognize that if you have been caught up in this, the not enough time mentality to get it all done, our world and social media especially is all about instant access, overnight success stories, and the next big thing that will fix all our problems. All of us have been seduced at one time or another by this, so give yourself a break. But here and now, you can choose. You can choose to step outside of that and to think differently. So let's go ahead and do that now. As you know, we do things differently inside Flip the Switch. How do we want to see the world? How do we want to create a future successful business with health to enjoy the results, not in spite of them? It doesn't have to be a trade-off. And so often people feel like they have to trade off. Today, we're going to discover some ways in which you can start now to secure your health along your success journey. First, let's look at food as your energy source. If you want to live a high-performance life, what kind of fuel should you be taking into your body? Some would suggest that you need to go crazy with an elimination diet of some sort. But recent studies show that it's less about what you are currently eating and more about what you're missing that is the real needle mover. Let's give a little example of an area where we don't want to focus so much on what you're doing wrong, but where we could just improve and create some balance to start. Let's say that maybe your breakfast was a coffee and a slice of toast. Lunch was a protein bar at your desk and a Diet Coke. And well, work went late, so you're not eating your dinner at a regular time and you end up reheating spaghetti and meatballs at around 7:30 at night. Well, it's not the ideal. However, if you were to stop worrying about changing all the bad eating habits and first start with adding new good habits to help bring balance, then what would your results be? What if you were to toss some fruits and veggies into that day? So let's say you eat an apple on your commute, or take 5 minutes to eat a salad with your protein bar and Diet Coke. And what if your pasta sauce had veggies in it rather than just the plain old tomato sauce? Do you see where I'm going with this? It doesn't have to be super difficult to start making better choices today to refuel your body in a way that you'll be able to perform at a higher level. Do you see how also focusing on what you can add first is not only easier to agree with on the subconscious level, but it also now gives your body a fighting chance, with a boost in your immune system having all that fiber and nutrients from the fruits and veggies. So start simple and look for ways to balance your current eating habits. Now, a cool thing about this, of course, is that as you eat healthier and add healthier choices, it starts to get easier and easier to take healthier choices and make those healthier choices throughout the rest of the day, which means that you may find over time that your desires start shifting away from unhealthy options. That is a total bonus. Okay, so I can just hear what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, that takes planning and prep, and it's hard, and I have to do all these extra shopping, and I don't like going to the grocery store, and all of that. Well, the answer is sometimes. But there are also many solutions around this. In fact, our guest speaker next week has solved this problem completely. So you'll definitely want to check in on next week's episode. In the meantime, let's consider 6 questions that you could ask yourself to help create the desire to build a culture of self-care in your life. Question number 1. What would my future look like in my career and life and relationships if I neglect my health? Number 2, what could it look like if I were to add simple proactive health choices now and continue with them. Number 3, what do I believe about being healthy? I mean, is it easy? Is it hard? Is it time consuming? Is it expensive? Is it the opposite of fun? What do I really believe about being healthy? How are these beliefs showing up for me now in my current habits? And is this serving me? Am I able to serve my audience and give them my best under these circumstances, or my clients or my customers? What healthy choices would be an easy starting place where I know it will show up with results right away, like in boosting my energy or helping me sleep better at night? So those are just 6 questions to get you started on thinking about the type of foods that you want to take in, the type of beliefs and thoughts you have around self-care, and preparing to take care of yourself better for the future. So something that I take my coaching clients through that I think you guys can still use on some level is an activity of awareness to start seeing what foods, activities, people, environments, etc. energize them as well as drain them. For a health coaching client that I would be taking through this exercise, they would get an actual 4-day energy experiment, helping them define these. But for this setting here in the podcast, I would recommend just journaling after these different activities, what your body is feeling in response to where your focused energy is and where the output is, and what came back to you. Did you feel refreshed or depleted? This could be as simple as adding a note in your phone. So going forward, just take a little bit of time to look at the foods, the activities, the people, the environments that you're in, and taking an awareness and a note of what's depleting you and what's energizing you in each of these areas. Now, it might be easier to just pick one at a time. So maybe you start with one day, your focus all around the foods you ate that day, what foods are energizing you and which foods are totally draining you, which then the next day it could be which environment. You get the idea. As a recap, one of the best ways to build your desires for creating new habits is through clearly visualizing the results of the new behavior, as well as recognizing the pain of your default future if you do nothing to act on these possibilities. Inside of my coaching programs, I often take clients through visualization exercises. I had a client who came to me about a performance she had scheduled as a pianist. She would play several difficult piano pieces in front of a large audience. Up to this point, she had had physical effects, actually feeling ill in the thoughts and the anxieties leading up to her performances. After working with me, we went through a visualization exercise where she pictured herself walking out on the stage, where she had a protective bubble around her of sorts, and how when she played, it was as if she was playing only for herself, and she was being able to pour her entire soul and heart into her performance. It was a really fun exercise for her, and she really enjoyed it. A few days later, after her event, she came back to me with so much excitement and joy and overflowing with just gratitude for the event in itself. She had performed the best she had ever done, and she did it with a calm and a peace and a confidence that she had never before felt. So again, visualization exercises can be super powerful. She was able to put all of her energy and focus into one place and be able to use that focus and that energy to perform in a way like she had never before performed. So this new awareness technique of recognizing where our focus is and how our energy is poured into this space opens up a realization that we truly have a personal power available to us in choosing where to focus our thoughts and seeing that our energy is well invested and not just spent. So whether it is in the foods that we are eating to fuel ourselves, or whether it is the information we are taking into our minds, or the time we are spending with family, or scrolling on Facebook, it all matters. Let's imagine for a moment that you took this strategy and you experimented with it over the next week to see all the places that you could actually be leaking energy. Then the following week, you set out each day with the goal to truly focus on purposeful activities in business that were service-based, value-packed, and money-making. What if you also did this in your relationships and in your self-care time? Aren't you just curious about what type of a life you would create for yourself? I know that I want to create a life without regrets, and I'm sure you do too. Let's look at what we've learned so far. The problem we're facing and discussing today is how do we be proactive in our health as entrepreneurs to not only prevent burnout and overwhelm, but to have the health to enjoy the fruits of our labors and connect with the people we love. The solution we have laid out here in Flip the Switch thus far is number one, take an energy inventory. Look at what drains you and what's fueling you. Number two, look at the actual foods you're using to fuel your body and consider where you can start first adding better choices before removing the not so helpful habits. Then move on from food to activities and people, etc. The best part is that this works for everyone. Why? Because you get to customize your own journey based on the results of your findings. Utilize those questions and start to really ask yourself what you believe in these areas and what you want out of these areas. You get to choose how you want to invest your energy. Where your focus goes, your energy will flow. You are the creator of your future and your past. You are the one who has the power to design your current actions to fall in line with the goals you desire to achieve. All it takes is starting with choice. Now remember, you're going to want to join me next week for our very special guest who will be helping us realize that healthy can be easy in as little as about 26 seconds. You are going to want to be there for this. I will see you next week, same time, same place. I want to sincerely thank you and appreciate you today for showing up here on Flip the Switch. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a training session in your mindset mastery, leveling up your business success. And be a good friend. Share this episode with a fellow business builder. I'll see you next week, same time, same place.